No one can take away what we have deep within ourselves. Hello, friends. Let's talk about crisis management. Specifically, what to do when everything's on fire around you. Seneca said that some people are like wine, which improves with age, like fine vintage. And others are like new wine, which cannot contain itself and tastes unpleasant because it's not aged. This is an excellent metaphor for what it means to live through a disaster or go through a crisis period in your life. We need time and experience to learn how to deal with the burning building and also how to put out fires and prevent them from occurring in the first place. Let me share with you 3 things that I learned from the Stoics about managing crises. And then we apply these ideas to a real-life situation. Here's how we usually manage a crisis, right? First, we deny there's a problem. Then we start to panic. Then we get angry and we blame someone else. And finally, if we're lucky, we learn our lesson. The Stoics offer us a different path, a better path through the flames. The first thing to remember is Seneca's calm in crisis. The fire of Rome. In 64 AD, a fire broke out in Rome and it raged for 6 days, destroying 10 of the city's 14 districts and leaving 80,000 people homeless. People complained that Nero had started the fire to clear the land for his new palace. But Suetonius tells us that Nero was actually in Greece at the time, and he only returned to Rome to find his own palace burned down as well. Now, some have criticized Seneca for his response to the disaster. He wrote a poem expressing sympathy for the victims. But he also stayed in his villa on the outskirts of Rome, enjoying his wealth while others suffered. And so, for many, Seneca represents the worst in Stoic philosophy. The idea that the wise person remains indifferent to the suffering of others. But that's not what Seneca was saying at all. You see, even though he stayed in his villa, he used his resources to help people. He distributed food and supplies, he took in refugees, and he offered financial aid to those who had lost their property. In fact, he gave away so much money that he was accused of hoarding ill-gotten gains. So, in a time of crisis, the Stoics don't run away from the problems, but instead they face them head-on and use their resources to help themselves and their community. This is the first principle of crisis management. It's to try to stay calm in the moment. Yes, you should feel bad that there's a problem. But don't waste energy by panicking or by blaming yourself or someone else. Seneca says, "Happy is he who makes others better through misfortune, just as a grape becomes wine through the pressure applied." So we want to use this time as a chance to grow. Now, here's the second thing to remember. Accept fate calmly. Epicurus says, "All things are born from the fire and carried by it." Do you think Epicurus is talking about the physical fire? Of course not. He's talking about the logos spermatikos, the divine spark inside each one of us, which originates from the divine fire of the cosmos and carries us through our journey through life. Everything that happens to us has a purpose. Everything that happens to us is part of the nature of things. Even disasters happen according to the logos. There's no such thing as a meaningless event. So the Stoics ask, how can I make sense of this event? How can I accept this event as part of the order of the cosmos? Remember, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius says, "When you rise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. When you wake up, look around you and say, 'Thank God I'm alive. Look at this beautiful world. Look at the people that are in my life. Thank you, God, for giving me another day.'" And so, the second principle of crisis management is to not complain about fate. Instead, we should thank God that we were given another chance, that we were given another opportunity to practice virtue, to practice excellence, to improve ourselves, and to help others. Here's the third thing to remember. Use adversity as a training ground. When the pandemic hit and people started losing their jobs, Epictetus told his students, "Do you see how fortunate you are to have been born in a time like this? Do you realize how happy you are to have been given this opportunity?" Because the Stoics view life as a series of obstacles that we must overcome, like an obstacle course. But they also believe that we have free will. We can choose how we respond to the events that happen to us. So the Stoics view adversity as a gift because adversity tests us. Adversity allows us to improve ourselves. No one is perfect now, right? No one's perfect now, but you have the ability to become perfect. And what does that mean? It means you can become better than you were yesterday. You can improve yourself. You can exercise self-control. You can practice wisdom. And this is the third principle of crisis management, to see adversity as an opportunity to improve. So don't escape from suffering. Don't avoid hardship. Instead, embrace it and see how much you can improve. As the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "A man is not disturbed by things, but by the views he takes on them." So the secret to managing a crisis, according to the Stoics, is not to panic. And yes, it's okay to feel emotions, but we shouldn't act on those emotions. Instead, we should remain calm and use our reason to guide us. We should also realize that everything that happens to us is part of fate. And fate, ultimately, is part of nature. So we should accept whatever happens with gratitude. And finally, we should recognize that adversity is a gift. We have the power to improve ourselves through suffering, so adversity is actually a blessing in disguise. So let's apply these ideas to a real-life situation. Let's imagine we're living in Rome during the Great Fire. Step number 1, we don't panic. We stay calm. Sure, our house might burn down. Our possessions might be destroyed, but none of that matters if we lose our minds. Step number 2, we accept our fate calmly. We thank God that we were given this opportunity to test our virtue, to test our strength, to see how much we can improve. Step no. 3, we use this time as a training ground. We see what we can learn from this experience. Perhaps we learn how to be more grateful for what we have, how to control our emotions, or perhaps we learn that we should have been better prepared. We should have listened to the warnings, that we shouldn't have ignored the small fires that could have become big fires. You know, growing up, we were taught the Boy Scouts motto to be prepared. But the truth is, we can never be fully prepared for everything. And so we need to learn how to adapt, how to improvise, and most importantly, how to remain calm and carry on. So let me leave you with these parting thoughts. Don't fear the fire, embrace it. And when you come out of the fire, you'll be stronger than ever. No one can take away what we have deep within ourselves. And that includes our capacity to learn, to improve, and to overcome any obstacle. So keep learning, keep growing. Always remember, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Thanks for watching, everyone.